Everyone, today we are gonna learn the French defense, which starts after the moves pawn to e4 and pawn to e6, with the idea of playing pawn to d5 on the next move. After the most principled move, d4, taking the center, we strike back, and now the e4 pawn is hanging. The most simple way to deal with this is to just take, and after we take back, there is total symmetry, so we will try to break that, because if we don't, the games are probably going to get very dull. Here white has two approaches. One approach is to just simply develop their pieces, and we can actually break one of the interesting rules and mantras, which basically says knights before bishops. But no, we can basically put our bishop here. This is the square it belongs to. It's really stronger, exerts pressure on both sides of the board. And after the move bishop d3, we will play the slightly awkward knight e7. So the reason for this is basically to block this file from checks, because we're not going to castle this way, right? If it would castle this way, then knight f6 wouldn't really be any problem. So let's say they castle. Here we'll play bishop d4, starting our queenside development. Let's say they basically just develop their knight. Here we play c6, making sure there is no knight b5 hitting our bishop and harassing it, because it's a very strong one. And let's say they just play bishop e3, we will develop our knight, and then they play like rook e1, we can play queen c7, piling on the pressure against the h2 square. We're actually threatening to take, and then take, or to just take immediately, exploiting this pin, right? So let's say they just play h3, king is back, and here we've got the very simple plan. We just push our pawns, right? We can basically get h6, g5. Basically, white has created what is known as a hook, a pawn which we can use to open up the position, in this case the g file, right? We're just gonna attack like this, push the pawns, and castle our kings, and castle our king on the other way. So this is a very interesting way to play, and this is what I recommend to you. Very exciting games will actually ensue from this point on. So basically there's another way they can approach this position, and that is the move c4, called the Monte Carlo variation. We're not really that worried. We just play knight f6. Say they play here, we play bishop e7, and like they develop, we castle king side, and whenever they move this bishop out, we can take on c4. And here they have moved 2 times, which is a very good thing for us. Here we play knight d7, again not the more natural square to c6, because we have a reason, which will be clear after the castle. We play knight to b6. They, for example, just bring the bishop back, and we play c6. We are patrolling this very important d5 square with 4 of our pieces. And we're soon going to get a knight there. For example, at rook e1, we can already get a knight there. Put our bishop here, get the queen in, connect the rooks, get the rooks in, and we have a very nice position. Congratulations, you now know how to play the exchange variation of the French defense. So let's go on with the next one. Well, they don't necessarily have to go so easy on you. The more challenging response is to basically push this pawn and gain space. Here this d4 pawn is very crucial, and we're going to focus on that for quite some time. We play c5, attacking and gaining space, and we develop our knight attacking again. We also play our queen here, exerting even more pressure. Here, let's say they just play here, bishop e2, a very solid move, getting rid of the castle. We can take here, releasing the tension, because we do not like them to take after this move knight e7, because our bishop would have been blocked from the defense of that pawn. We're going to go to f5 and again exert even more pressure on this pawn. Now, for a showcase of how deadly the French can be, this logical move, castling, is actually a blunder. We play knight f5, and it's impossible to defend this pawn, because if we play bishop e3, I take on b2 and win a pawn anyway. Although, in this position, white definitely has a more tricky response as well up their sleeve. You can play bishop to d3. If you notice, this pawn is hanging, right? We've got 3 attackers, we've got 2 defenders. But if we try to actually continue, we see this position, and after bishop b5, we lose our queen, and this is not good at all, of course. So what if we reverse engineer that, right? We know this check is going to come, so we trade only once, and then we play bishop d7. We're actually now genuinely threatening to take the pawn, and let's say if they want to really defend the pawn, we bring it here, and they have moved this bishop twice, not like that, they have moved this bishop twice, which is of course not that good. We can either play knight and 7, get our knight here, get the bishop here, and finish our development with a very fine position. So congratulations again, you now know how to play the advanced variation of the French defense. Let's go with variations in which white does not touch the e4 pawn, right, and instead defends it. One way to do that, of course, is to move f3, for which you should be hit in the head with a bat or, I don't know, whatever you say. Because after takes, queen h4, you lose this pawn, and you're in a very bad position. However, there are some better moves, in fact. You can develop the knight to c3 or to d2, both of them very good moves. The reason I actually packed them together is that against this, I recommend the very simplistic move d takes c4, which of course can also be played against this move. You simply get to the same position, known as the Rubinstein defense. Now I recommend knight d7. The idea of it is to basically play knight f6, but to be able to recapture with your other knights. So let's say knight f3, knight f6, takes, and bishop d3. Here we can play c5 and taking space. They will play bishop e3, for example, defending our pawn, but also x-ray attacking our own pawn. So we play queen c7 defending, and let's say after the castle, we can play something bishop e7. If you play like rook e1, short castle, c3, we'll play b6, and we'll just get this bishop out here. We will get the rooks in, and we have a very nice. We would have a very nice game. So this is with the Rubinstein. Now they don't have to play two pawns in the center, right? They can, for example, develop the knights as you're supposed to do. Two knights in the center. Here, for the sake of simplicity, I recommend you just take and play this move knight d7. After which white does not really have a better choice than transposing into the Rubinstein, which we have already discussed. Also, there was something I actually forgot to tell you about, a very interesting idea. If you just basically go into this Rubinstein here, in this position, instead of playing knight d7, you also have another move you can play, which is bishop d7, right? And after like knight f3, you can play bishop c6, is known as the Fort Knox variation. The idea is that, like for example, if you move the knight back, I'm just going to chop this off and play c6, and basically I have removed my bad bishop and just put my pawn there. It's too solid, really, but you may like to play it, so I wanted to give you that. You know, you don't have that much space, but you have a very solid structure. You have no weaknesses. So also for the other part, rather than putting your two knights in, you have also some interesting sidelines like queen e2, known as the Chikorian variation. You don't really want to play d5 now, although you can, because then knight c3, right? But like, you know, you can just play c5 and say that you just move this queen here in front of this guy, and this is not what you should be doing. Your queen shouldn't really be the first piece you move in the game. And yeah, you can just, as long as you don't really do anything stupid, the position is just always going to be fine. You can play some normal developing moves with d6, or maybe d5 at a good time, and just have a good position. So yeah, this was it. In 9 minutes, you learned how to play the French defense, one of the most reliable defenses against d4. Now, if you like this, enjoyed this video, please like the video and hit the subscribe button. If you think you have a friend who needs this video, if they need to brush up their opening skills, you can share it to them. And also, if you have any recommendations, you can tell me in the comments below. And I have a question for you. What is your favorite sport if you have one, and why? Thank you for watching this video, and see you on the next one.